All right, good morning, beautiful people. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, just know this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. As always, God is good, and He is good all the time. All right, so as you see, we're doing a reaction to Ben Shapiro. Now, I want to react to Ben Shapiro reacted to Kamala Harris' biggest fails. I want to react to him because I listen to his content. I listen to Steven Crowder. I listen to Joe Rogan. And although their perspectives don't align to mine, their views are different from mine, there are some similarities, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I'm not the type of person that just want to sit there all day and listen to somebody gaff them up. You know what I'm saying? Suck up to them, blow kisses up they butthole. Like I tell my mom, blowing smoke up they butt. You know, I don't got time for that. You know, I'd rather somebody with an opposing view, so that way more conversation is exchanged versus, just a bunch of penis or clip writing, you know what I'm saying? So we just gonna dive right on in and we're gonna react to the video. Let go.
Alrighty, folks, today we're gonna go through some Kamala Harris career fails. This video is brought to you by Tessa Mays.
Hi, everybody. Okay.
I don't think she old enough to be struggling like this on social media.
Okay, hold on. Looking for Jose. There we go.
He looked disgusted.
It's hard to see with the light on. Let's turn the light on. I got him. Okay.
She's gonna fix Ukraine, guys. She's gonna fix it all. You know, there's that stress vein in her forehead that looks like it's gonna burst. She always feels like she is 1 second away from that happening. Like, it's very stressful to watch. It really is. It is not relaxed in any sense. You're not watching this saying, "Oh, this is kind of cute and funny." And it said, I like the little caption. It is too cute and funny. Is it though?
Well, welcome, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Ready to start?
But what is the best advice your parents have given you that perhaps you can share with us today?
You know, one of the most important pieces of advice that I can offer you guys, and I want you to really remember this.
Oh, no.
Never let anybody tell you who you are. You tell them who you are, and who you know you are, and what you intend to be. Got that?
The important phase.
All right.
You got
I
that?
got more advice. You just let me know.
Oh, she's terrible at this. Oh, she's so bad at this. So, first of all, the paid child actors. These kids are paid, and like the kid who reads the line is still a better actor than Kamala Harris, who's a terrible actor. She's got the hand motions and this and that. And when she finishes her brilliant point, you don't let them tell you who you are. You tell them who you are. Like she just dropped a little piece of Aristotelian wisdom on you. And by the way, that's a crappy piece of advice. Can I just tell you that's a garbage piece of advice? My kid tells me who he is all the time. And you know what? He's wrong like 3/4 of the time. It's like, you know who I am? A train engineer. You're a child. You don't know who you are yet. I will help you to find who you are because you don't know things because you're a child and you're dumb.
The Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election. Should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
And there we go.
Exactly.
No clip is complete without the extraordinary Kamala Harris cackle. Never forget that these folks, for like a year, downplayed the possibility of a vaccine, only to tell you that you had to be 80% comprised of the vaccine by body weight in order to go into a restaurant. And if you're a child, your entire body has to be made of vaccine.
I want to know who's the real president of this country. Is it Joe Biden or Joe Manchin?
I'm sorry, I interrupted. I don't think the vice president can hear you. It's Simone. I'm so sorry, Charlamagne. We have to wrap.
She can hear me.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me, Madam Vice
So
President?
I'm sorry. We got to wrap.
Oh.
So I'm sorry to interrupt.
They're acting like they can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, so who's the
I
real?
can hear you.
So who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlamagne.
I really-
Come on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't
No,
tell
no, no,
sometimes.
no. It's Joe Biden, and don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden, and I'm vice.
She had to put on the sassy black woman skit after that black chick was like, ho, 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 don't be quick, think on it. Look strong. Strong black woman. If Kamala black, then Elizabeth Warren is Native American.
Vice President, my name is Kamala Harris, and the reality is because we are in office, we do the things like the child tax credit, which is going to reduce black child poverty by 50%.
Okay, yeah, all right. Fine. Now she just goes into speechifying mode, right? It's like, click, turn, hand, go, this, that, yes, out here, in here, you, go. Like, you were literally ready to respond, and now you're pretending you can't hear me. I'm vice president. I'm so offended that you would even imply that Joe Biden isn't in control of this country right now. Let me tell you about child poverty. As one of my producers points out, she did actually take her own advice. She told Charlemagne who she was. She didn't let Charlemagne define it for her because she's Kamala Harris, damn it. And she's vice president of the United States, which means she's utterly useless.
We're in the middle of a crisis caused by this pandemic that is a public health crisis. We're looking at over 220 million Americans who just in the last several months died.
Whoa.
We are in the midst of a public health
220 million. That's over half of the U.S. population.
epidemic that has taken the lives of over 220 million Americans
she did.
in just the
More than
last
one
several
time.
months.
The first time she said it, I was like, okay, anybody can have a brain fart. Do it twice, it starts to get a little weird. Also, if 220 million Americans had died, I feel like the world would be a very, very different place.
Address the fact that we got to deal with the fact that folks are paying for gas, paying for groceries, and need solutions to it. So let's talk about that. Short-term solution includes what we need to do around the supply chain, right? So we went to the ports of Los Angeles, Long Beach, Savannah, Georgia, and said, hey guys, no more 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, 24/7. Let's move the products because people need their product. They need what they need. We're dealing with it in terms of the long term, and that's about.
She said 24/7. You want people to work 24/7? Then we have the issue with Amazon or Kellogg's or whatever the freak, some big corporation overworking their people and not paying them enough. And I know these shipyard people aren't getting paid enough.
What we need to do to pass Build Back Better, it strengthens our economy.
Kamala Harris, I want to play poker with this person. She is the easiest poker mark in the entire world. You can tell, it clicks in, she immediately goes here, right? She's going to her speech hands. The speechy hands, that's where she's going. Great stuff. Okay, but the best part is when she's asked a question she doesn't like. And so she does the elementary trick that you are taught when you're in 4th grade, which is you repeat back the question in the form of a sentence.
The poison for Cusco, the poison chosen specially to kill Cusco, Cusco's poison.
So she's asked about inflation being transitory, and she goes, what I would say about inflation being transitory is, and this tries to buy time for her brain to click in so she can start talking about supply chain problems. She's so bad, but she has nothing else to say about it because number one, she doesn't have a good answer for it. Number two, she hasn't even read her briefing book. And she famously doesn't read her briefings. She's extremely, extremely passive when it comes to actually knowing things. And so, yeah, it doesn't look good for her ever.
I was elected to lead, not to read.
Senator Harris says
it's
she's
a
proud
classic.
of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like in
And
college,
I inhaled. I did inhale. It was a long time ago.
She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way. The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people. You actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no
She got to maintain that conviction rate. See, the thing that people overlook that they don't talk about, people like Ben Shapiro, Joe Rogan, and Steven Crowder, is that they don't tell you that a lot of these politicians, not only do they have, background in business and such, but these people, a lot of them have background in motherfreaking law. They have law degrees, like motherfreaking Kamala Harris. And a lot of these people not only came from, the seat of a judge, you know what I'm saying, into their political realm, but a lot of them started off like her, a prosecutor. You know what I'm saying? And when you're a prosecutor, and this is the path that most politicians take. You want to become a politician, you become a prosecutor. Because why? Then you get to push this concept that you're tough and hard on crime versus being a defense attorney where you're letting off and you're lenient on criminals and you're letting off criminals free. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these politicians become prosecutors, right? And with being a prosecutor comes this incentive that I need a close to 100% perfect conviction record. Ask her what was her conviction record while she was serving prosecutor. I bet money, it was over 95%, because that is what it is for majority politicians. When they were prosecutors, majority prosecutors, when they are prosecutors, they aim for this high conviction rate, because at the end of the day, even if you don't want to be a politician, you want to look good. How do you look good? By convicting more people, because that's your job. You're a prosecutor. Your job is literally to convict people. So even if you don't have reason to convict people, that's why a lot of the cases get thrown out in the criminal justice system, because they look at, well, what can I convict? Can I get a conviction out of this? And then, to make their jobs easy, to make prosecutors' jobs easy, they come in with plea bargains. Over 90% of motherfreaking court cases, especially when it comes to criminal court cases, they're resolved by plea bargains. In a city like Rochester, where I'm from, Rochester, New York, the population here is about 210,000 people that live here. Of that, we'll say maybe, 10% of that is funneled through the criminal court case. So if, for example, say if our criminal court system was seeing about 2,000 cases in one entire year, out of those 2,000 cases, over 90% of them are resolved by somebody just pleading guilty. A lot of the times, they did not do what they're accused of. There's no evidence, none of that stuff. It's literally, you got the police and the prosecutor, the courts. Motherfreaking, just like, especially if you're a person with a criminal record, you got a criminal record. Well, dude, we don't want to do this dance with you. You know what I'm saying? You got a criminal record. If this go to trial, this could look terrible for you. You could get the maximum sentence. What they don't tell you is that you could be acquitted. You can get your case thrown out. They don't tell you that. You actually have a very higher likelihood of having your case thrown out or being acquitted than you do being convicted if you take it to trial. Why? Because, like I told you, 90% of court cases are resolved by plea bargain. That's just people saying, I plead guilty to whatever. And a lot of the people are they're copping out because to them it makes sense. They got to get back to work, whatever, they have their reason. They got a criminal history. But that other 10%, that other about 10%, that actually goes to the criminal court system. But of that 10%, less than 5% of that, is found guilty by conviction. So that means out of the 10% of those that get convicted, over 95% of them are either acquitted or their case thrown out, while 5% of that 10% that took their cases to trial were convicted. You see what I'm saying? You have a greater likelihood to get your case thrown out to be acquitted than convicted. But they don't tell you that. Prosecutors lie to you and they pump you up with fear, and then they make these very drastic decisions on your life in such a tiny bit of time. You know what I'm saying? And you got to decide whether or not you're going to take it to trial or plea. And a lot of the time, people are poor. They ain't got time to take off from their job. They don't got time to risk losing their job for no, harsh sentences. So people take the plea because after they weigh it out, it makes more sense to them. People are sadly mistaken when it comes to the criminal justice system. Majority of the people that's in the criminal justice system are in there for plea bargains. A lot of them it has not been proven that they've done what they've been accused of. For all we know, majority of those people, which data is starting to show that majority of these people, they did not do what they're accused of. But the appeal process, the court system is slow, and this is why they push plea bargains, is because, think about it, in a city as big as Rochester, New York, 10,000 people, we got about 12 judges that oversees everything from family court to criminal court to other civil matters, you know what I'm saying? Divorce and all that. The same 12 people got to deal with all this stuff. And then we got this handful of prosecutors, these handful of public. The courts they don't have the funds and they don't have the staff to process the thousands of people, especially if you're looking at big major cities like Rochester's a mid-sized city, but it's a city like as big as New York City, Los Angeles. These places are millions of people live there. So there's tens of thousands of cases that goes through there. And yet there's literally less than 20 judges overseeing those things. And like I told you, a handful of prosecutors, a handful of public defenders. These plea bargains benefit them more than it benefits the defendant. And I say all that to say this. Yes, she fabricated motherfucking evidence to ensure that those people stay convicted. Why? Because as a prosecutor, she is incentivized to maintain a high conviction rate. Her job depends on her convicting people. And the courts cannot look flawed by having stuff overturned. Like, how you motherfucking convict somebody and this evidence is here. You didn't know this? And then the law, the courts, the prosecutor and the judge and the jury all seems inadequate. You see what I'm saying? It's intentional.
Excuse for that, and the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
I mean, this was the moment when Kamala Harris's presidential dreams died, up until the point where Joe Biden's death might fulfill her presidential dreams. She started off this campaign, you'll recall, calling Joe Biden a vicious racist. You'll recall that she was actually the leader in the polls for a brief moment in time before people actually watched her. And then Tulsi Gabbard just destroyed her on the stage, and it was hideous.
Why not visit the border? Why not see what Americans are seeing in this crisis?
We have to deal with what's happening at the border. There's no question about that. That's not a debatable point. Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
I'm pretty sure she understood the point that he was making. That deer in the headlight look is one of the great Kamala Harris looks. That moment where he follows up. To be clear, you haven't been to the border, and you see her eyes go wide, and she's like, "I also haven't been to Europe," which is not the question. It's so fabulous. Like the fact we have been to the border, but you haven't. Well, I mean, not literally. She is a flaming bag of hot garbage at this job, and it turns out at pretty much every job she's ever held.
Certain dates echo throughout history, including dates that instantly remind all who have lived through them where they were and what they were doing when our democracy came under assault.
So tiresome. So tiresome. January 6th was nothing like December 7th or September 11th. No one was actually shot to death on that date except for Ashley Babbitt. That seems like a pretty large distinction. Also, the entire place was clear.
Yeah, honestly, I hate that people try to make it seem like it was such terrorism. Now, I understand that there's a racial divide. I mean, look at this. I can't hide this. I'm black. You know what I'm saying? You can't hide that. But at the same time, it pisses me off that people want to rule that as a terrorist act when they overlook the fact that the government is outnumbered. Like I just told you, the court systems is underfunded and understaffed. They're outnumbered by the rest of the millions of people that live out here who is just general population. So how do they keep us at bay? They don't have enough police. They don't have enough military to subdue us all, especially when you got the red, the red side, the Republicans, and not even just Republicans, because I don't even identify as a Republican. And I have firearms, you know what I'm saying? I am a firm believer in having firearms, not necessarily for self-defense. I enjoy them for recreation, and all types of. But at the end of the day, we outnumber them. And how do they keep us in their charge? Well, they keep us fighting amongst one another, divided. We'll never come together. And so that's why you got black people. Well, I won't say black people, but you got, the people that's just so upset, because this includes every racial minority. You got the people that's so upset about the oppression that they're currently going through and that their ancestors went through, and this just, been a generational thing. And they're taking out those frustrations on the descendants of those who contributed to it. You know what I'm saying? And we get nowhere. We get nowhere because you got movements like Black Lives Matter, you know what I'm saying? And I don't understand the Black Lives Matter. I mean, I see some people have the divide where they think they promote riots, then there's a side that's like they don't. Me personally, I would attend a movement and I know where I stand. And it's not in a sense, I am for Jesus, you know what I'm saying? I follow peace, as long as I can. Type of thing, and I'm gonna defend myself. That's just where I stand, But I attend these protests in the hopes of add other groups to us. Get the Native American organizations in on this so we can add our fights together, and we actually make change that reaches more. Once you add more, they can't help but make change for you because it's so huge. You know what I'm saying? Add the Latinos, add the Asian folks. It's just, I get tired with this racial divide, social justice fight thing. But anyways, I don't like how. Whatever.
Within a few hours, the vote took place, and pretty much everybody involved went to jail. Some are still in jail under controversial conditions. So, yeah, not the same. Every time the Democrats trot out this is like September 11th or December 7th.
It's nothing like that, because that's what I was saying, that this isn't necessarily terrorism. And that's why you have this racial divide where they're saying, well, what happened on January 6th was terrorism. And it's no, those were people. I don't agree with the racist folk. However, I'm not going to knock what they did. They're allowed to be armed. And they went to protest, and they went up into structures, buildings that they legally have the right to do because they're public buildings. These buildings and these institutions, these places are open to the public. You know what I'm saying? And they went in there and they did their thing. You had the onesie twosies that, tore the place up a little bit, but at the same time, it's just bro, that was their form of protesting. I don't think that all black people are a monolith, all white people are a monolith. I don't think all forms of protests is a monolith. It's just, everybody have their own spin, their own versions, their own cultures to things. You know what I'm saying? It's just whack that people be trying to motherfucking narrow people down to these.
Oh, you mean the one that led to a full-fledged American involvement in a world war that ended with the death of hundreds of thousands of Americans, that one? Or are we talking about the one that ended with not only a giant 20-year war in Afghanistan and a war in Iraq, but also on that date alone ended with the death of 3,000 Americans? It nailed it.
9/11.
At what point does the administration say, you know what, this strategy isn't working, we're going to change strategies? 6 former administration officials last week wrote that open letter urging the administration to change course, to change strategy. Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
Yes! Yes. She does the trick that you saw earlier, right? She tries to rephrase the question as a sentence and then realizes halfway through that she has no place to go. It's like, is it time for the administration to change course? She doesn't know what to say. So she's trying to buy time. You can tell from the warble in her voice and the fear in her eyes. And she goes, "It is time to do what we have been doing. And that time is every day." It's not just the best Kamala Harris clip. It is the best politician clip in world history. It is just straight from Veep. There is no competitor. I mean, we've had a lot of bad Kamala Harris moments here in this video. That's my favorite one. I love that one so much. I'm never going to get over that clip. It's so good. Alrighty, so there you have it. The future president of the United States, Kamala Harris. Yes, there's a reason why Democrats are freaking out. And this video should remind you why.
I love y'all. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like, comment. Peace.